So as you can see, here we have a well-used and abused Reid E4 scooter, and they've caused some damage by going off something and therefore snapping this part here on the folding mechanism. So we need to go ahead and replace this whole steering unit, and this video will show you how. So first step is undoing the 4 bolts here, because we need to take the head unit off the top. There's 2 on each side. These are the ones that you would have installed when assembling the scooter first of all. Like I say, this is a well used one, and I can see that they've only actually got 3 bolts installed, so we'll put a 4th one back in when we reassemble it. The next step is to take off this wire casing here, just a case of unravelling it with your fingers like so. The reason for having to do this is because obviously you've got wiring going through the tube here. This wire here goes down, then actually back up through into here. So we'll also need to take the top of this off. Again, it's all simple if you know what you're doing. I'm just going to go ahead and undo this part here now. You can also start it from the bottom once you get over halfway. Set that aside, don't lose it, because you'll want to put it back on to keep the cables looking nice and neat. Next thing to do is take the top part off there. There are 6 screws. Just need a star point screwdriver like this one here. We always recommend using magnetic tipped tools, simply to try and help the screws stick to it a little bit. It just makes your life easier. So there's 1. When I say 6, there's 3 on each side. 2. 3. And then it'll be the same the other side. Now that these 6 screws are removed, we can carefully take this part off here. As you can see, there's wiring inside, and you can see you've got some wires that go down into the steering unit there. Because we've already moved the 4 screws here, we can carefully take this off, and we can see these wires here. You'll have inline connectors, so we need to disconnect this one, and so, and then in the second one, the connection is further up inside, so poke that through and you will see this connection here, just with the electrical tape on it. This one is actually the one that I mentioned from the brake lever that goes down and then back in again. So we're just going to disconnect this, undo the isolating tape around the connection. Undo it as so. Then that wire can be pulled through. Then you've got the 2 wires that go down and the brake cable that goes down, but like I mentioned, this one is actually the wire that comes back through here. So you can pull that out now. Then you need to undo your brake cable itself, which is identical to a bicycle cable brake lever. So line that up, and you might want to disconnect the disc brake at the back, or you can sometimes get away with pulling that down like so. It's a little bit fiddly because it's twisted itself around. There we go. So that is now fully disconnected from the top part. So then we need to go ahead and get to work down the bottom end there, and then pull these 2 cables through. Now we're focusing down on this end. We need to pull these 2 cables through first of all, literally just by pulling them. Give it a bit of help from the other end, and do one at a time. And be careful not to snag the electrical one, obviously, as you go. Just put it through gently, there shouldn't be any resistance, and then this part here can now be removed. There are 3 Allen keys to undo, one facing forward on this side, one facing backwards on this side, and one in the top here. So these 2, we just need to loosen off a couple of turns. They are what attach this main folding part onto the steerer tube that comes up from the fork. Same again on this side. Just going to give it a couple of loosens. And then the one in the top we need to fully undo. It should be pretty tight to start with, obviously that's what keeps it safe, and then they'll get looser as you go. As mentioned, this bolt needs to fully come out because we're taking this whole unit here off. So set that part to one side, don't lose it, you're going to put it in again. And now this part, with a little bit of help, will come off. So we're ready to take this part off now. With a little bit of gentle persuasion, it should come off pretty easily. There we go. And then what we're going to do, we're going to discard this. It's no good to anybody. And we're going to replace it with a new one. So just like that, we pop it straight back on again. The new version obviously. The bolts might need a couple of loosens off on it. And there we go. Then we're going to go ahead and put the 2 screws back in the side there and put the top cap back on. Always do the top cap first, just because that's what retains this part onto the scooter itself. So you can go ahead, screw this back in. And then we're going to get the 2 bolts for there from the old one and tighten that back up. Right, so we've done these 2 bolts up just so they're kind of tight, but don't do them up fully just yet, because you need to make sure once the handlebars are installed that the handlebars and front wheel are in line, because this will be able to twist a little bit until that's done. One other important thing is to make sure that you put in the rubber gasket. This helps with vibration damping, it stops so many vibrations coming up through the handlebars, and also aids not putting too much stress and pressure on the joints here. So if you don't have that, just hit us up on our contact form and we can get some sent out to you immediately, and then that's ready to test. Perfect. Nice and solid. Then we need to go ahead and pop all the wires back through. So to feed the cables back up through, a little hack is just to tape them together, because then they'll come through a lot easier. Because it uses the rigidity of the brake cable to pull the otherwise very soft electrical cable through with it. So we're going to feed them all the way up through, so they come out at the top here. And then with the rubber grommet, just pop that neatly back in. It's a little bit fiddly, but it will go back in. Like so. Then you're going to go ahead and cut the bit of sellotape back off. Be careful not to cut the wire when you do it, obviously, because the brake cable needs to come back through that little hole, not through the very top like the electrical wire does. Okay, so keep that one there. Then the brake cable needs to go back through, then come out at this point here. So I should say, just pull that grommet back out again, pull the wire back down a little bit, and you'll see it, the brake cable in here. Use something little, like a little mini Allen key or a spoke or something, just to hook it through you'll be able to see it. It's a little fiddly, things like this are, but there you can see it. Oops. There it is. And then get somebody to pull it, to push it back through from the other side, the other end. I'm trying to do this on my own, so obviously it's a bit more fiddly for me, unfortunately. But it is doable. There we go. And pull the cable back through and just re-put the grommet in and the bottom now. To be fair, you can do that at the end. Okay, and then we're ready to put the main display part back on. So first things first, with this part, it looks a bit messy, but we'll tidy that up in a second. We just need to put this electrical wire, which is a brake cut off, back through the hole here and up through. So pop it in, feed it along, and put that down. There, you can see it there. Okay. We'll keep it all loose for now, put the grommet in at the very end. Or what I will do actually, sorry, is just pop that part through there. It's rubber, so it will stretch over. But we won't put it fully on yet, because we want to have as much flexibility and looseness as possible. But what I will do is just pull the wire through as much as I can, because we want this part to be nice and long to reconnect it easily. And then we can sort the length out just with a little bit of adjustment afterwards. So those are the two wires that we now need to push through here. Obviously this is just the first simple connection, like so. You've got two arrows on there, faint arrows that line up, so you can't really get it wrong. And then this part needs to go back up through, and we'll plug back into the part in here. So you need to find the red and black line that we disconnected it from before, plug it back in, like so, and put the tape back around. If you've got new tape, even better, but it's not so important. Okay, then the controller display unit there, sorry, the display unit just needs to have the wires hooked back in a little bit, like so. All the electrical connections are now back as they were. At this point, we just haven't connected that cable there or done the screws back up. But what we're going to do now is a quick test to check all the connections are okay. Turn the scooter on. Yep, perfect. So that's working exactly how we'd expect it to. Change the modes between 2 to 3, turn the headlight on, turn the headlight off, and turn it back off again. So we can now put the 6 screws back in underneath there, and we can connect that brake lever again, and then we can put it all finally back together. So we're going to put the 6 screws back in underneath here. If you remember, when we took them out, there were only 5 because one was missing for some reason. But obviously I've got an extra one, and we're going to put it in for this customer. I'm going to do them all up nice and tight. So now this is all back together as it should be. So we're just going to pop the cables in, so it just tidies it all up a little bit, and then we're going to pop the brake cable back in, just so you can see the finished repair. Like so. Then the brake cable here we need to pop back in. So pull the lever, have it. You need to line up the little slats on the barrel adjuster, pop that back in, and that's the repair done in most part. You just need to pop the rubber grommets back in then. Which are tight and fiddly. And then wrap the cable tidy back around. And then the scooter is ready to have the 4 bolts popped back inside, so it's ready to ride. The cable's on, the grommets are in, we just need to put the 4 little screws back in that go into the side there. And one was missing to start with, remember, so we're going to pop a 4th one in for this customer. But they should just screw in nice and easily. The only other thing to mention is that when you then fold the scooter back up to, fold it down to ride it, make sure that you tighten up the 2 bolts at the steerer there once it's in line fully. And that's how you do it.